Welcome back. Here we are at week 2 of my Movember training prep summaries. Hope you enjoyed last week and gathered some insight into the way that I train. This week won't be massively different, but there'll be subtle changes in weight, volume, intensity, distance, time, whatever it may be. I don't actually know yet as I get my training day by day, which keeps things very exciting. So we'll see how the week unfolds, but again, starting the week off with a Monday bro session.
Whilst it may look like this session has been pulled straight from pumping iron, it does in fact have a place in my training at the moment. So for most of 2019, upper body weights volume has really been on the back burner as my focus has been on swimming and endurance work. But it doesn't take a genius to figure out that to get through a 12-hour AMRAP in the middle of November, I'm going to need a decent work capacity in my upper body. So this is just there to rebuild my upper body work capacity in general terms to better prepare me for a period of more specific training in the weeks to come.
As my lower back is back to normal, squats are back on the menu for this week. So starting off with some 800 meter repeats outside to warm up, back in here for a heavy triple, 2 AMRAP sets, some RDLs and some jumping lunges. And then the bit I was hoping to avoid, but sadly not. We are outside for some 400 meter sprints, followed by 50 meter sprints, followed by a leisurely 2.5 mile run, which I don't think is going to feel so leisurely. All I can say is, at least it's a nice evening.
Once I got my warm-up done outside, I was back into the gym for some mobility work and then got straight under the bar, using the very bro-friendly logic of adding another plate. Worked up to 140 kilos ahead of my first working set at 170. The aim for the day was to build up to a heavy triple to give us an understanding of where my strength is at, as well as determine what weight to do my back offsets with. However, I will admit the powerlifter within me prevailed, and rather than making the logical jump from 170 to 175 based on how these moved, I chose 4 plates. As 4 plates sounds much better than 3 and a bit plates. So sadly, I only managed 2 reps here, which although it wasn't prescribed, it's very encouraging based off the fact that my focus has been on endurance work and my squat volume has been next to nothing for the past 6 or 7 months. Then came 2 max rep sets at 90% of my heavy triple for the day, which I determined to be 175, as realistically I think that's what I would have managed had my ego not gotten in the way. Got 6 reps for both sets, but the second set felt a lot more ropey and out of line, which ultimately just comes down to the fact that I've been out of practice and my squat efficiency isn't anywhere near what it once was. Following on from that, we had 3 sets of as many reps as possible on Romanian deadlifts with 100 kilos, which again was encouraging as it's a movement that I've been out of practice with, so it's nice to know that my hamstrings still have a decent amount of work capacity in them and my lower back can get through this sort of volume. Finally, I had to get through 100 jumping lunges, which doesn't sound much fun, and I can confirm it wasn't, but the logic here is the more volume we can build up in a lunging position or lunging variation, whilst my legs are fatigued, then the more work capacity in that specific position that we can gain. Then came the section of this session that I wasn't looking forward to, which was 6x400 meters. If you've ever seen me run, you'll know that I'm not a natural runner, let alone a natural sprinter. Whilst this may be the case, I managed to get through these with pretty consistent times, around 1:13, I believe it was. Then had to get through 10x50 meter sprints as well. Wasn't too sure on the times here, as it's much harder to keep track of on my Garmin, but all in all, not too bad considering the amount of fatigue I had in my legs from the lower body session I just got through. Follow that up with a 2.5 mile steady run to finish, which, whilst it didn't feel all that steady, is pretty essential for blood flow and recovery, as well as just getting a bit more work done in a specific heart rate zone.
Happy hump day! Wednesday evening, 1 hour run at 7:13 minute per mile pace, slightly quicker than last week, just as a way of figuring out exactly what speed puts me just below threshold heart rate, which is an essential bit of data that we need to better manage my fatigue and my pace going into my run in November. Quite wet, quite windy, grey and horrible outside this evening, so I won't be filming any of my route for you to see, but it's mostly concrete anyway, so you're not missing out on all that much.
1 hour later.
So, job done. Not great, not awful. Made worse by the fact that 1, it felt really humid, sticky and horrible. 2, a steady pace was made quite strenuous by the fact that I had quite a lot of DOMs in my legs from yesterday, so they just felt pretty heavy and sluggish. But other than that, as expected, average heart rate 156, so just where we want it to be, which is all very valuable data for future pacing.
Here we go again. Friday evening, 2 kilometres of lunges, so equally as simple as last week, but 500 metres longer. In the car park now, about to head up. They've got a 200 metre track, so that's 10 laps of that. Going to try a bit more of a regimented protocol this week. So last week I literally just lunged when I felt like lunging and rested for as long as I felt I needed. So I think I'm going to try 30 lunges, 30 seconds rest, and see how I get on with that. But aiming for the same pace as last week, which was basically 1.5 kilometers an hour. So it's not the most effective mode of transportation, I'll give you that. But hopefully we can do it in under an hour and a half and just keep building from there. Good morning and welcome back to Snowdonia National Park. I'm in a different region to where I was a couple of weeks ago to go up 3 peaks that I will be honest, I have no idea how to pronounce and I'm not even going to try it. Same brief as previous weeks, which is I'm here to get 4 hours of solid work done, just below threshold heart rate, to build on the fatigue that I've accumulated up until now to improve my overall work capacity. Simple as that. I'm going to have to step in here and call myself out. I actually only managed 1 of the 3 peaks that I was going for, and that's because I bumped into a few locals who warned me that my route from Trefan, they told me how to pronounce it, to the other 2, which they didn't tell me how to pronounce, would be too dangerous given the winds up top. I quickly realised what they were talking about, as once I got to the top of Trefan, I wasn't even confident enough to have my camera out, as I wanted 2 hands to feel safe. So what I ended up doing was going up and down Trefan twice and then filling in the rest of my time with some lower level mountain miles and trail running. Sorry there's no summit to show you this week, however I hope you enjoy the views along the way. This session ended up being just over 10 miles in 4 hours and 12 minutes. Another positive training week in the bag, numbers as follows. Body's feeling okay, apart from a little bit of tenderness in my knees, but to be honest, that's to be expected going from lunging 2 kilometers on Friday night to 4 hours in the mountains on Saturday morning. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video and have gathered a little more insight into the way that I'm training and preparing for my 3 events in November. I've said it before and I'll say it again, if you have any feedback, positive or negative, please do let me know. I'm new to this at the end of the day, and any input you can give to help me better document my prep, that would be enormously appreciated. The usual stuff as well, if you could like, comment and subscribe, that would be enormously helpful just as a way of helping me get the message that I want to spread to as many people as I possibly can, as ultimately that's the reason why I'm doing this. The link to donate is in the description below, and anything you can spare at any stage of this process would be massively appreciated. Thanks again for watching and see you next week.